Your album is called Passover. Where did that come from?
Passover is it's kind of loosely based on the Passover that takes place in Exodus. I kind of liken that with my own story. So I had 3 words as like a theme for the album, and it's actually a theme for infantry as well. Was chosen, spared, and delivered. The children of Israel were chosen by God, you know, and then their lives were spared by God, and they were delivered from bondage by God. At a very young age, I believe I heard the voice of God speak to me and give me an instruction, and I was like probably 4 years old, and I did it. And when I was 15, I got shot and laying on the ground, and I heard the voice of God tell me that I wasn't gonna die. So these were like early telltale signs for me that God was real, like my mother, you know, telling me about Jesus and God, you know, was a real thing. Again, I believe God chose me, and for me, it was at a very young age, and spared my life, you know, from being shot, from being robbed, and being in some really, you know, conflicted situations. Spared my life and then delivered me from that, all for his glory.
2 follow-ups to that. The first is, what happened at 4?
When I was 4, my father, my stepfather, was being very abusive to my mother, like physically hitting her and beating her. I was tired of it. At 4, I was like, man, I'm not gonna let this happen to my mother anymore. At 4, and I said, I'm gonna kill this guy. So I got up out of the bed, and I went over to the dresser, and I grabbed a screwdriver, and I said, I'm gonna kill him. And when I lifted the screwdriver in the air, I heard God's voice say, stop, put it down, and get back in the bed. And it was just this authoritative, clear, firm voice. And I put it down, I got back in the bed.
The second, you got shot?
Growing up in the projects of Philadelphia, Eshon was shot at 15 in essentially a case of mistaken identity. On the ground, bleeding, he summoned the strength to tell his mother goodbye.
And then I heard this voice, the same voice I heard when I was 4, that just said, it was calm, firm, authoritative, just, you're not gonna die. And when I heard that, I just believed it.
When they talking about me, say they always trying to judge. I was brought up in the streets. Used to hang with the thugs, I was on the pack heat. In case the boys want beef, lay him down with a slug. But I'm saved by the Father, so I got that peace. And I ain't who I was.
Yeah, I've been around guns and drugs. Everybody thinking I'm a thug. They be swearing by what I'm wearing, declaring that I'm up. To no good, but I'm repping no hood. But
what many would call a record label, Infantry, you don't identify as a record label. What is it?
Our heart in this is really just to see hip hop be we love to see hip hop infused with the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? In this industry, it's kind of tough to do things on your own and just you know, kind of be a lone soldier in this thing. So we want to grab up the people who we know are really passionate about the gospel, really good artists, and just support them, man. I'm from the streets. This is where I'm from. The Lord has delivered me from the streets, saved my life. So my voice is really for the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to speak to them.
You're from Philadelphia. When it comes to that city, many people talk about that Philadelphia sound, the music that's born in the city. When it comes to that, can you share just some of the people that you've had contact with as a result of being an artist in Philadelphia?
The sound of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just a soulful place. Around 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, these years were really amazing. So it was a spot called the Black Lily that the Roots would do every Tuesday night, $5 to get in, and you never know who was gonna be there. So we would go, and almost every week, not every week, but almost every week, we would get on an open mic and get a chance to perform with some of these artists. So you had artists like Alicia Keys come through. Janet Jackson came through one time. She didn't perform, but she was there. So India Arie, you know, she had one of her first performances there in Philly. I remember walking in and just hearing this beautiful voice playing this guitar. I'm like, who is that? And I look on stage and it's India Arie. Nobody had ever heard of her or anything. And she's just playing her songs from her first album, and it was just amazing.
Eshon's latest project is called The Passover. You can check that out, as well as the other members of the Infantry group, by checking out theinfantry.com.